Hello everyone, welcome to the ITLS Academy. Today we are going to discuss the topic cocoa bean processing. Okay, so what we are going to discuss? We are going to discuss cocoa bean processing. So first of all, we have to know about the cocoa. Okay, so the botanical name of the cocoa is Theobroma caco. What? They are Theobroma caco. This is the botanical name or the scientific name of the cocoa. Just a minute, I just highlight this. Okay, Theobroma cocoa is a botanical name of a cocoa. Cocoa tree grow best in the tropical rainforest. Okay, see, every plant, every type of plant, every type of tree have their area for their growth. So this cocoa tree um, grow best in the tropical rainforest. The height of the cocoa tree is about 15 to 25 feet. Okay, so the height of the cocoa tree is about 15 to 25 feet. The single tree produce 20 to 50 fruits per year. Okay, one single tree. Okay, one single tree have a capability to produce around 20 to 25 fruits per year. Okay, per year, and the diameter of the spots is around 10 to 18 centimeter. This is what? This is the pod's diameter, and they have a thick leathery rinds which contain around 20 to 50 beans inside in row. Okay, each pods have a thick leathery rinds, and this rinds contain around 20 to 50 beans inside the row, in each row. Okay, these seeds are totally embedded in white or pinkish pulp. Okay, there is a pulp present in a rinds in which the seeds are totally embedded, and the color of the pulp is either white in color or either it is pinkish in color. Now come to the next slide. Varieties of cocoa tree. See, if we talk about the variety of the cocoa tree, there are three types of cocoa tree are present. One is your Frosterio, second is your Corolla, and third one is your Trinitario. Okay, they are what? They are the variety of the cocoa tree. They are what? They are a variety of cocoa tree. And one more thing here, I just want to add this Trinitario is the hybrid of both of this. Okay. Now, what is this Forastero? Forastero is hardly and vigorous, and it producing beans with the strongest flavor. Okay, the strongest flavor beans are produced by our Frosterio, and this Frosterio are hard and vigorous. Then the second variety is your Corolla. Corolla is mild, weak chocolate flavor. Okay, the beans produced by Corolla is mild or weak chocolate flavor. This tree are not hard and they produce softer red pod. Okay, they produce what? They produce softer red pod, and it contain around 20 to 30 white, ivory or very pale purple beans. Okay, the color of the beans produced by Kerala is what? Either they are white in color, ivory in color, or very pale purple in color. Okay, and the beans are produced by a corolla is around 20 to 30 beans produced by each row in the pods, and the color of the pods are what? They are red in color and they are softer than the previous one. Now the third one, which is the hybrid of these both, Trinitario, this type of plants are found in wild, okay, and they are cultivated hybrid of the other two types, okay. So the quality of this Trinitario are the quality of both of this, because of they are the hybrid of both of these. Now come to the next slide. Composition of the cocoa. Okay, so these cocoa beans are made up of, we all know that every food are made up of what? Carbohydrate, fat, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. Okay, so here around 54% of fat are present in cocoa beans, which are also considered as a cocoa butter after processing. So the amount of the fat is about 54%, and 31% carbohydrates are present, 11% of proteins are present, 3% of polyphenols are present, and less than 1% of minerals are present. Now, if we see the composition of the fat in cocoa beans, so around 34% salic acid are present, 33% of stearic acid are present, and 26% of thalamic acid are present, and 6% of other fat are present. So the composition of the fat in cocoa beans is what? They contain oleic acid, stearic acid, thalamic acid, and other type of fat, but the percentage of other type of fat are very less. And in carbohydrate, around 1% of sugar are present, and they also contain 16% of fiber. If we talk about the protein, then it will contain arginine, glutamine, and leucine. So this is the protein which are present in our cocoa beans. Now flavonols and proanthocyanins are also present in cocoa. If we talk about the minerals, then iron, magnesium, phosphorus, calcium, copper, these type of minerals are present in a cocoa beans. So we can say that this cocoa beans are the good source of fat because it contain around 54% of fat. Now come to the next slide. This is what? This is the flow chart of the cocoa bean processing. What should we do? First of all, we have to harvest it. Harvesting. Okay. Here we are, what we are going to do? We are going to only see the flow chart. Then after that, pulp pre-conditioning. Pulp pre-conditioning. After that, pod opening. What should we do? We open their pods. Then fermentation. Then drying. After that, storage. Then cleaning. Okay. So when we open the pod, we have to remove the husk. We have to remove the husk. Okay. So what should we do? We cultivate this cocoa beans from the cocoa tree. After that, we pre-conditioning their pulp. After that, their pods are opening, and when we are opening the pods, we have to remove the husk. After that, we perform the fermentation, then we perform the drying, then storage, then cleaning. After cleaning, either we do roasting, either we do breaking and winnowing, and either we do, okay, we do only two things. One is your roasting. After cleaning, either we do roasting and either we do breaking and winnowing. Breaking and winnowing. Okay, when we do roasting, so in roasting we can break the we perform the breaking and winnowing. In that case we remove the shells. After that, nibs are found. We grind this nib, and after grinding it converted into a cocoa liquor or a cocoa mass. Okay, so what should we do after roasting? We perform breaking and winnowing. In breaking, what should we do? We remove the shell. When we remove the shell, we found nibs. We grind the nibs, and these nibs are converted into a cocoa liquor. Okay, now this cocoa liquor either we mix it, refine it, cone chain, tempering it, and mold it and form a chocolate. This is the production of the chocolate. Production of the chocolate. So when we found this cocoa liquid, we mix this cocoa liquid with the different ingredients, then we refine it, then we conching it, then we tempering it. After that, we're molding it and demolding it, and this cocoa liquid is converted into a chocolate. And one more thing, what should we do? Either we press this cocoa liquid, and it will convert it into a either cocoa butter or a cocoa cake. Now this cocoa cake are converted into a cocoa powder. So this is the conversion of a cocoa liquid. Now before roasting, what should we do? We perform the breaking and winnowing. It is the second part. So after that, again we have a nibs. Now what should we do? Here we grind the nibs. When we perform the roasting, we grind the nibs. But here what should we do? We sterilize it. Now during the sterilization, we added alkali, and the process is called alkylation. And after that, we do two things. One is your roasting and one is your grinding. When we do roasting, so here what should we do in the first part? We roast it first, then we grind it. Again, what should we found? We found a cocoa liquor. Here what should we do? We grind it, and when we get a cocoa liquor, then we roast it. Okay. So the process is same. What should we do? At the end, we have a cocoa liquor, and this cocoa liquor are roasted cocoa liquor. And now we press this cocoa liquid and convert it into either in a cocoa butter or a cocoa cake, and at the end of the process this cocoa cake are converted into a cocoa powder. So this is all about the process of the harvesting or process of the cocoa beans. Now come to the next slide. Harvesting. Okay, only ripe pods are harvested. Okay, we have to must take care of this, that we have to harvest only our ripe pods. Unripe pods should not be harvested. Now when this pods are unfermented, then it should be stored for 3 to 5 days. Okay, so here the condition for the storage of the unfermented pods, so it should be stored around 3 to 5 days. And around this we have to ensure that correct nib acidification, and we have to enhance the pre-fermentation activities inside the beans. Okay, sorry, the enhance the pre-fermentation activity inside the beans, and we have to facilitate rapid rising temperature, impart stronger sugar flavor. Now pod breaking and collection of wheat beans. When pods are broken, and these pods are broken without any damage to the beans, after that what should we do? We are collected the good beans only. Okay, suppose this is your pods and here the beans are present. So when we are broken the pods, we have to must take care that uh, it cannot be damaged the beans, and after that we are collecting only the good beans. Okay. Now diseased, germinated and cracked bean are discarded. If any beans have diseased, or if they are germinated, or if they are caked bean, then it should be discarded. Now, what should we do? We have to perform the fermentation and curing. So, fermentation should be carried out within a 24 to 48 hours after the breaking of the cocoa pod. Okay, after 48 hours, we are not performing the fermentation. We should perform the fermentation between the 20 to 48 hours when these cocoa pods are broken. This fermentation is usually take 5 to 7 days on average, and it also varies according to the spices which we use. Now, this Frostero variety of cocoa fermented between 5 to 7 days, and Curula fermented around between the 1 to 3 days. It is responsible for the chocolate flavor and aroma in cocoa, also external browning of beans. Okay. Why we perform this fermentation? We perform the fermentation to ensure that chocolate flavor and aroma in cocoa, and we also do it for a external browning of beans. This cocoa beans do not themselves undergo any fermentation. That's why we have to do this. It is a pulp surrounding the beans which is fermented, while the simultaneously curing process take place within the beans. Okay, when we perform the fermentation, so simultaneously we have to perform the curing of that beans. Okay, now if we see the microbial aspect, now microorganisms are totally responsible for the breakdown of these pulp that surround the beans. Okay, suppose this is your pulp and this is your beans. So this pulp should be uh, breakdown by the microorganism. Microorganisms are responsible for the breakdown of these pulp, which result of death of the beans. Okay, if there is a attack of the microorganisms occur in a cocoa beans, and the pulp was break down by these microorganisms, then in that case uh, we declare that death of the beans and enable the formation of cocoa flavor precursors. The pulp is an excellent medium for the growth of microorganism because it contains 10 to 50% of sugar. Okay, that's why it is the good source of the growth of the microorganism. Now, stages of the fermentation. First stage is anaerobic yeast. Okay. In anaerobic yeast, the first step is what the sugar are converted into alcohol and carbon dioxide. And it will take 24 to 48 hours. And in that case, no air circulation take place. Anaerobic reaction means that absence of oxygen. So here, what should happen? Sugar converted into alcohol and carbon dioxide, and it takes around 24 to 48 hours. And in that case, no air circulation take place. Rise in temperature, pH should be acidic, less than 4, and low oxygen, or you can say that absence of oxygen, because it is a anaerobic reaction. Bean death on second day occurred due to the acetic acid and alcohol penetration inside the bean. Maybe sometime in the second day the bean death occur because of the formation of the acetic acid, and due to which the alcohol penetrate inside the bean, and that's why these beans are declared as a death and we can't use it. Now, stage 2 is a lactic acid bacteria. Okay, in that case, what happened? Lactic acid producing bacteria production of lactic acid bacteria. So what happened? Sugar and organic acid which is produced in a previous stage are converted into a lactic acid. Now, lactic acid bacteria are present from start, but it is dominate when the hours increases and reaches to 40 more than 48 hours. Okay, so they are dominated between 48 to 96 hours. Okay, when when the fermentation is started like 24 to 48 hours, they are present. Lactic acid bacteria are present, but they are present in a sleeping condition. Sleeping condition. When the time passes and it reaches to 48 to 96 hours, these sleeping bacteria become dormant. Okay. Now the third stage is acidic acid bacteria formation. In the second stage, what should we see? The formation of the lactic acid bacteria. Now in the third stage, here the formation or the production of acidic acid bacteria. This bacteria is again present from the start, but it becomes significant at the end of the reaction when the aeration increases. Means that when the supply of the oxygen increases, in that case this acidic acid bacteria become dominant. Here the alcohol are converted into acetic acid. This reaction are called exothermic reaction and temperature reaches around 50 degrees Celsius. So this is your log colony forming unit. The purple one is a yeast. Then the yellow one is your lactobacilli. The blue one is your acidobacter, and this one is your what? This is your bacilli. So here you can see that log CFU and day of ferment. Okay, colony forming unit, and when the day of fermentation increases, the number of the microorganisms also increases, but sometime it will become constant. Now come to the next slide. Which factor affected the fermentation? Pods maturity, pods storage, quantity of beans, quantity of pulp, types of cocoa, duration, seasonal effect, and pod disease. So these are the factors which are influencing the fermentation. End point of fermentation. How we know that the fermentation are completed? When the bean color changes to brown. Okay, when the beans color changes to a brown and their pulp and filled with reddish brown exudate. Okay, their pulp are filled with reddish brown exudate. Testa become loose and detached from a cotyledon. Okay, the first point is what the color of the bean changes and it reaches to the brown color. And now their uh, pulp are filled with reddish brown exudate and their testa are loose, and after that it detached from a cotyledon. Longitudinal half of cotyledon show bleach appearance in the center with the brownish ring at the periphery. At 50% of the beans show these signs and lot can be taken out for a drying. If the 50% of these beans show this characteristic, then what should we do? We take a lot and perform a drying. Curing are done at a high temperature and it influences the acid. Okay, either it kill the beans or disrupt the internal structure. Cocoa beans are composed of two type of cell. One is your white cells and another one is your purple cell. Okay, suppose this is your cocoa beans. Just a minute. Cocoa beans are made up of or composed of two type of cell. One is your white cells and another is your purple cell. Okay, The white cells are what they are. They contain fats or proteins. Okay. And this purple cells are what they are, polyphenols. Okay. Now, due to the disruption of compound in the beans mix and interact with themselves, there is a reaction between storage protein, enzyme, and polyphenol, which are result in the formation of crucial chocolate flavor. Okay, they protein which are stored and the enzyme which are stored have a reaction with the polyphenol, and this reaction have a result, that is formation of the crucial chocolate flavor. Chocolate flavor precursor. Protein are degraded by the enzyme to polypeptide and amino acid. Okay, this is protein. This protein is degraded. Suppose some enzymes are activate here, and this protein are converted into a polypeptides plus amino acids. Okay, and reducing sugar are released. When this polypeptides and amino acids are formed, reducing sugar are released during this process. Okay, and reducing sugar are what they are? Either they are glucose, okay, or either they are fructose. Now, reduction of astringent and bitter taste. Part of the polyphenol oxidized into a large tannin molecule. Okay, when these polyphenols are formed, these polyphenols are oxides, and after oxidation, it's form a large tannin molecules. Okay, part of the polyphenol and theobromine, your caffeine, around 20%, it diffuses and extruded from the beans. That's why this bitter taste, reduction of this bitter taste. Importance of the fermentation and curing. There are no chocolate flavor in cocoa bean without fermentation. Okay, if we are not performing fermentation in cocoa beans, so the chocolate flavor which arises in cocoa beans is not occur. So this the chocolate flavor in the cocoa beans is only due to the fermentation. Okay. Chocolate flavor precursors are formed during a fermentation which help in a further development. When we perform the fermentation, there are many chocolate flavor precursor who pick the flavor of the chocolate are formed. Okay, and this will help in a further flavor development. This is the graph between the sensory score and a sensory attribute. Okay, so the red one is before fermentation and the green one is after fermentation. Okay, when we don't ferment this, then the bitter taste are high, and when we ferment it, the bitter taste is decreases. Same with flora increases, and astringent is also more in without fermented beans, but less in a fermented beans. So this is the importance of the fermentation of the curing. Drying. After fermentation, we perform drying. Okay, drying is done uh, to remove the moisture present on it. Okay, slow but progressive loss of moisture. When we removing the moisture from the beans, it is a slow process, but the loss of moisture take place. Loss of astringency and bitter taste also take place, and losing of the shell from the beans. Moisture content reduces and it reaches to a 6%. Less moisture content, more shelf life. More shelf life. That's why we perform the drying. Just remove the moisture content. When the moistures are not there, then the chances of the growth of the microorganism decreases, and ultimately the shelf life of the cocoa beans increases. Roasting. This dry beans after drying are roasted between 200 Fahrenheit to 250 Fahrenheit and time around 1 to 2 hours. And we perform roasting to develop a flavor of the beans. When we perform the roasting, the beans become brown in color and friable या brittle in nature. After that, what should we do? We grind it. For grinding, heat are produced which cause cocoa fat to melt. Okay. After drying, after roasting, what should we do? We have to grind it. When we grind it, then heat are produced which causes cocoa fat to melt. And after melting of the cocoa fat, it carry with it in a suspension finely ground particles of the cocoa, which is known as a cocoa mass, cocoa liquor, or a bitter chocolate. Okay, so this fat which are produced during the grinding are immersed in cocoa particles, which is called either cocoa mass, cocoa liquor, or a bitter chocolate. Okay, now this solidification of this mass are take place around a temperature of 30 degrees Celsius. After grinding, nibs are formed, and see, pressing of nibs, filter pressing to separate out major part of the fat, cocoa butter. After that, the amount of fat left in a press cake can be varied by the conditioning of the pressing. The past cake is used for producing a cocoa powder. Okay, the cake which are remain, it is used for a production of the cocoa powder. Now, cocoa products, there are different cocoa products like cocoa chocolate, cocoa powder, and chocolate. This cocoa butter are also called theobroma oil. It will be discussed in detail. It will be discussed in the next lecture. It is pale yellow color, or it is pure or edible vegetable fat. Cocoa powder is the end product of the cocoa solid, and they are low fat component and they are rich in flavonoids. Okay, the chocolate are what? It is a food preparation in the form of paste solid blocks made from roasted and ground cocoa seeds, typically sweetened. So what is the cocoa butter, how they form, and how this cocoa powder are formed, what is the application of this, we will discuss in a next lecture. Here what should we only discussed, uh, production of this cocoa beans. So thank you for the watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any query, just let us know in a comment box. You can also send your query from the helpline number, which are already given in your slide. You can also follow the ITLS Academy from the different platform like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp, LinkedIn. Also, you can get our app from a Google Play. Please subscribe our channel ITLS Academy. And if you have any query, just let us know in a comment box. Thank you.